Hey guys, Michael here with Conversations with a Recovering Loan Officer, and I'm joined today by Nicole Zukas, my second ever manager in the mortgage industry.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe that, but that's so exciting.
Yeah, it was definitely a game changer for me when I came to work for you because you've got a very unique mindset about the industry. And even when I started in 2005, I think I onboarded with you in '06 or '07. You had already been through cycles. You'd owned your own brokerage.
Yep.
You had closed that down, gone to a REIT. I came to work for
Yes.
you at a REIT, was like the biggest REIT in the country, and that was right before the collapse,
Yes.
the implodometer days.
Yeah. It was actually the 11th lender to implode that year. And they were the number 8 servicer of all mortgage loans. So, I mean, it's not a wonder that they imploded being the number 8 servicer. They took on I think a lot of bad debt. So, but they didn't realize. But that was some interesting times to get through for sure.
Well, one thing I noticed, kind of moving through all that, I mean, actually, I remember I was on the golf course and I got a call from you basically just saying, come get your stuff. Like, they're locking us out. And I'm like, what are you even talking about?
Oh my gosh, I'll never forget that because it was a Friday. If I remember right, it was a Friday.
Yeah.
And I think we had one of our biggest funding months ever. And I mean, I think for the branch, several of us were new or whatever, but we had, I don't know, like 6 or 7 million funding just on that Friday alone.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kept getting these emails that our funds were tied up, the Federal Reserve, they were having issues, whatever excuses. And all we knew was get through the weekend. And by Monday, we had no company to come back to. We had no loans to fund for our clients. I mean, it was complete chaos. And fortunately for us, we had relationships in the mortgage industry. So we were able to take those transactions and move them over to friends and family that were in the industry and still save those clients' transactions. But boy, what a nightmare that was to get through. And then who would have thought, because that was like 2006. I want to say it was, so we were the start of it,
Yeah.
2006. And who would have thought that that was going to last almost 5 years through 2011? Would have never thought that it would have been that long of a period of time that we really would have been struggling for business. But we made it through, and then we saw some really great times, then some average times, and some even more amazing times,
Yeah.
2020, 2021, and then enter 2022 again. And who would have thought? Honestly, entering into 2020 when COVID hit, the C word, I really was prepared for 2006 to 2011 to hit again.
Yeah.
I really had no idea what was going to happen. It's just like the phones died for about maybe 15 days to 20 days. Everybody was kind of in, oh no, what's going to happen? We all have to work from home. There's not going to be any transactions. And then within 20, 30 days, our phones were blowing up and they were nonstop for at least a year, maybe a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
So,
and at that point, you're just struggling to stay above water. You're like, there's so much business coming in that you're not able to handle it all.
Yep.
But I mean, those are good problems, right?
Yeah, they're great problems. Yeah. And it really challenges your systems at that time because you want to take on the business. I mean, if you're a career person in this industry, you want to make sure that your systems are dialed in because otherwise you're losing business. And even when you're doing 15, 20 loans a month, whatever it is, it still hurts to lose business. You don't want to because that eventually that's your referral business. So yeah, I think all that played into what's going on now, since early 2022 or 2023. I mean, actually, I guess it started about July 2022, I guess is when it really started slowing down. So it's been a good year. And this year has been so much different than 2006 to 2011. If you lived through 2006 to 2011, I like to say that I was an unpaid counselor. Because you had so many clients coming to you, saying, what do I do? What do I do? And you were having those conversations of look, it's your family, your health, the asset you can get again. If you don't have a job and you can't make the payment, don't stress. The industry is designed to make sure there's products available for you when your credit comes back and when the markets come back. And so that was some pretty tough times. I think mostly because I was dealing with a lot of clients that were struggling with, what do I do? Fortunately, we're not seeing that right now. I think what we're seeing more is just the panic of interest rates, low inventory. Seems that there has been a lot of job changes with several of my clients that have come through lately, and that concern of, hey, will I still qualify? Because I've had 2 or 3 jobs in the last couple of years. And so this last year has been extremely different, but I think we're turning a corner, Mike.
Good. Well,
we're turning a corner.
That's good to hear. But one thing I noticed sort of like even back in the day is that regardless of the market or how you talk to your clients, you're always like endlessly positive about where things are and where you're going.
Yeah.
How do you get to that point?
Well, some of it's natural. It's just who I am as a person. But I've also, for me, I reflect on where I've been in my life and where I am today. And when you go through times of transition or difficult times, if you can stop for a minute and look back in the past and remind yourself of something that you've gone through, you've been through, and how you came through it, you will always be able to get through what you're going through.
Yeah.
I think also staying connected to, people like you and I, we stay connected, we talk, hey, how's it going? And when you hear that your peers are going through the same thing, it's a validation that, okay, I'm not alone. I didn't make any mistakes. I'm still in the right industry for myself. But it's also time to reflect on your partnerships. And how are your partnerships? If you're having conversations with partners that are negative in a market like this, you may say, hey, this isn't the person that I want to connect with going forward, because I know that there is a silver lining in here, and I need other people that are going to encourage me as I'm encouraging them. So it's really staying connected to those people and taking the time to reflect on what you've been through and how you got through that, and let yourself know you'll be able to get through this too.
That makes a lot of sense. It was actually pretty funny. This last weekend, I was in the Seattle area for my son's mountain biking race, and the conditions were really bad. It was raining. The trails were muddy. The routes were slippery. It was basically dangerous for them to ride, and they're trying to do it at race speed. And I got brought back to a time in my golf career when I used to stand on the first tee in a tournament and think to myself, please start raining. I hope it starts dumping. I hope the wind picks up and that it snows on us. Because I know, based on all the things I learned from Scott, the things I learned from you, is that when times get tough, if you bear down and you believe in yourself, you're going to have an advantage over everybody else in the industry and in sports, right? In my case, it was an analogy. And so I shared that with my son and his buddies who are all riding the race. I said, listen, if you have the right mindset going into this, you have an advantage.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. And that's what I always learned from you, is that you just always carried that with you no matter what. You're like, can't do anything about that. Let's focus on the future.
Yeah. And I call it pivoting. Our markets change, but our products change, our clientele changes, our relationships change. And if you're not okay pivoting, this probably isn't the right industry for you, because you have to constantly be shifting in whatever direction things are going at that time. And so, but that's one of the things I love about this industry. I mean, it's not a boring job. Each transaction is unique and interesting in itself. And I feel like, we're lucky because we do the same thing every day, but we're also lucky because we get challenged every day. And so our job is never boring. And, the other thing that I always reflect back on when we go through these slow times is put yourself back in a time where you were making really good money, and how much were you making really per hour based on the amount of time you were spending into a transaction. And I would bet that there is not a high percentage of jobs that pay per hour what we make as a loan originator. And so if you can keep that perspective and say, okay, yes, I'm not making, what I was making in 2021, 2020, but when I look at my year to date at the end of this year, I'm still making probably more than 50% of the people in the United States are making on average. That's pretty good for not really working full-time work. So, you have to be willing to dig in, and you got to save your money. You got to be prepared.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Rainy day funds.
Rainy day fund. Yeah.
Not full-time work. I don't think I've ever seen you not work full-time.
Well, I mean, when I say that though, I mean, we're not clocking in
Oh, yeah, yeah.
stuck in one place, right? This is our lifeline, our phone and our computer, but still we can still take a call when we're on vacation with our family. We can choose to take a call and make an application and get paid for it. So there's no other industry that I know of that you can do something like that. Pretty incredible. So keeping that in perspective, because I don't want to have to start a new career, not after doing this 32, 33 years now.
Yeah, and you started this. So talk to me about the very beginning. How did you get into the industry, and how did you get introduced to it?
Yeah, it was a total fluke. I went through an employment agency looking for a job. I was 19 years old, and I'd gone to college, didn't like college, decided, nope, I'm just going to go start working. And so I got referred to a mortgage company out of Lake Oswego, and had no idea what mortgage was. I didn't even know how to spell it. I'm honestly, Morgage was my mind. I had no idea there was a T in there. And I got started at the first Gulf War. And so rates were in the 16s, coming down to the 14s, and then down to the 12s. And so that's where I started in the industry. There was no technology like there is today. Everything was hand typed, and good faith estimates were typed individually one at a time. And so I was hired as a receptionist. Within a month, I was bored, ready to do something else. And then I said, what else can I do here? And they said, well, we need somebody to do good faith estimates. Okay. I literally for months just did good faith estimates for loan officers because there were transactions coming in so fast. Mm-hmm. They didn't have time to do it. They just needed to take applications. And then I pushed myself into becoming a processor because I was bored doing estimates. So I started processing. And then by 1993, started our own company and had our company from 93 to 2006, 2005, 2006, somewhere there.
And that was, you opened that on your own, or was it with?
Yeah, my husband and I opened that. Back then we had, at one time, we had as many as 4 different offices throughout Oregon and Washington, and 72 employees, I think. So
oh, wow.
It was crazy. Yeah. I called it adult daycare.
Sometimes it feels like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it was good. I mean, I learned a lot, and, being in my early 20s and having a business and recognizing not just as somebody that's young and in their 20s trying to manage a business, but also being a female in the industry at that time, there wasn't a lot of respect for what I did. And so I had to work hard because, I would have customers come in that were used to working with bankers. They were used to this certain, I don't know how to say it, but anyway, I just know they came into me and they were like, whoa, there's this young girl sitting here. She owns the business and she's going to tell me how to finance my mortgage. And so I had to fight through that and prove, that I knew what I was talking about. And I really, really enjoyed it. I had a great time. And really the demise of our company was, 2006, kind of the demise of most companies. And so, but it was all good, great learning experience. So,
well, and you'd sort of split off, you still owned it, but you'd sort of split off and you were doing something on the retail side. And then Patrick was stayed on the broker side.
Yep.
So that you guys kind of had like the opportunity to help people in the best way possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We started having the conversation in 2005 that we felt like something was going to change within our industry. We saw retail really taking off. Retail had the money to put behind marketing, just the programs in general, software, the LOS systems, all that kind of stuff. And so I actually was approached by your uncle to come work at Countrywide. And we talked about it as a couple and said, this is really probably a good time for us to transition one of us into the retail side, one of us stay with broker, because it was talked about at that time that the brokers were going to be gone. They're all going to go away. And so I was a little bit scary to hear that. And so he stayed on the broker side so he could manage the business that we had, the employees we had. I jumped over to retail. And honestly, I think at that time I made the right decision because things did change quite a bit. The wholesale side of the industry just didn't have the autonomy to keep up with what retail could offer.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of growth that happened for me personally. One of the things that I had to learn was you have to overcome pricing as an objective, because being a broker all those years, it was, we have the best price, best price, best price. And so going into retail, it isn't necessarily the best price. It was more about the systems and the turn times and that kind of stuff. And so that was a change for me, but I was so grateful that I did it. And then, the past several years, I've really watched the wholesale side of things evolve. And for me, it was exciting because I'm like, I really want to go back to where my roots are, my heart is. And I think both sides have positive things to offer, and as a loan originator, you have to find the culture that supports your business style, I think. And not everybody is broker mentality and not everybody's retail mentality. So I don't think that there's a wrong choice there. I think that you have to figure out where you feel like it's home. But for me, I learned a lot being on the retail side, and I enjoyed coming back to wholesale and seeing how much, wholesale has changed. I'm like, wow, it's on steroids,
Yeah. The technology's caught up, right? I mean, now
then it totally has. Yeah.
So that's really nice, because then you have sort of the freedom to run your business the way you want. Most retail companies, you're still you're like intrapreneurial, right? In their business.
Totally.
Yeah. and that's great. I mean, there's plenty of great companies out there. If you don't want to have to manage a P&L, or you don't want to deal with payroll, or you don't want to, but if you do like that, you want to build your own business, there's the wholesale side.
Yeah.
Where you can,
Yep. And that's the beauty of our industry. And both sides, I think, do the consumer justice. So I think, saying that one side's better than the other, I think that that's kind of hogwash.
Marketing.
It's really marketing and who you are. What are you there to do for the consumer, and what impression are you leaving on them and your referral partners? And that's what's going to make you successful, not whether you're in retail or wholesale. It's you, the individual.
So you've been in 35 years or so, you said, and I mean, you have amassed a book of business, you've got clients, you've got partners, you've got, a name, ties in the industry and all that stuff. You still actively prospect, or like you pretty much, you do?
Oh yeah. Yep, I do. I try and go out at least a couple times a month. And, I've got my marketing I've got my database running through a marketing system that, we're making sure that I'm connecting with my clients all the time. But honestly, the best marketing is just face-to-face and word of mouth. It really, really is connecting with people. It's great to have all that technology, and it's important to have it because you can't touch your clients as often as you need to.
Right.
You can't, if I didn't have technology to tell me it was my client's birthday, I'm not going to remember. That's important. But it gives me the opportunity to then personally reach out and say happy birthday to them or whatever. So I think technology is huge, but I think relationships and doing what you say you're going to do, and if you're not using your calendar to help you do that, you need to, because one of the things that I learned, especially, coming into 2020, and some of the support staff that I had helping me, they're like, Nicole, you've got to get this stuff on your calendar. How are you going to remember to do this? So now I have this anxiety when I get ready to clock out at night. I'm like, wait, there's still 3 things on my calendar I have to do today, and get those boxes checked and then move on. That's what people are counting on, especially now, because we know that the industry is really downsized, right? Realtors have downsized, builders are out there building homes, but the business overall isn't there. And so if you want to capture that business, you've got to show them who you are as a person, and that you're dependable, and that you're reliable, and that you communicate, and that you have a good attitude. You're not there to tell them, oh yeah, business is horrible. It's not horrible. It's not. And I did a lot of prospecting in the last year, and magically, I like to say, I ended up with 20 transactions between June and July that are all in contract. Yeah. And I mean, it just like, I was just like everybody else a year ago going, oh my gosh, I'm lucky to get 1 loan or 2 loans, right? But still, you look at that 1 or 2 loans and you're like, that's still a decent income. It's not a bad income perspective, but it wasn't what we were doing the prior years. And so, but just cultivating, going out, shaking hands and talking to people, and you're in the grocery store and tell people what you do. Don't be afraid. I mean, right? We're in sales.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't
you used to
be kind of computer.
totally. And Scott and you used to always say to me, if somebody doesn't know you're in business, they can't do business with you.
Right.
And it's just, yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, they need to know. They need to know.
Well, and are you excited about what you do? Really? And I think of all the people, I'll tell you the story. I hadn't had my nails done in years. And it's just one of those things, like I didn't have time in 2020, 2021. I was like, I'll go get my nails done. And the gal that I happened to meet up with, her and her husband had a bad experience getting pre-approved. They never did buy a home because they were left with the impression that there was no hope for them, instead of, let's get you on a plan and we're going to get you keys. Let's make it a goal. And so I said to her, you know what, give me your tax returns. Let me take a look at them. And I've already got them pre-approved. And this is a couple that, they had a bad experience because a loan officer told them, oh, you're not ready yet. Come back in 2 years, instead of saying, I really like talking to you. I want to coach you for the next year, whatever it takes. It doesn't matter. Because if you are walking away from business like that because you're unwilling to hold their hand for a year or 2 years, how much more business are you missing because that person could have referred you business?
Yeah.
You need to look at them as a referral source, not a transaction. That's one mistake that I've seen, especially a lot of the originators that got into the business in 2020, 2021, maybe even 2019, is they look at everything transactionally instead of relational. And the relational aspect of this industry is what's going to keep you successful, and it's what's going to keep you fed with business. So that's got to be the focus.
So how do you switch it, right? Because I do see a lot of loan officers are very, churn and burn, transactionally motivated. How many units? What's my volume?
Yeah.
What's my paycheck? And every loan they look at as a paycheck.
Yeah.
How do you shift your mindset to being from transactional volume money to, helping people find the homes and helping their friends and family find homes or buy houses?
Well, and that's a great question. I think some of it is our industry has, it's created that culture that, right? It's a very competitive industry. And so everybody's wanting to know, okay, well, this person's doing this amount, so I want to do this amount. And this person's making this much money and buying a Ferrari, so I want to make this much money and buy a Ferrari. And it really has to be about the quality of life, but really who you are as a person down to the core. What makes you feel good about your job? It's nice to get a paycheck, but you know what? You know what I love more? And when I can take somebody that didn't think they could get into a house and give them keys into a house. I had a couple last week that, we fought hard. And I literally cried the day that their loan was approved because it was so emotional for me that these kids wanted into a house so bad. And they did everything I asked them to do. And we had a lot of stumbling blocks in the way. But at the end, together, we worked as a team, me and the client, to get the keys in their hands. And I think for me, that feeling is so much better than the paycheck I get handed. And because of that feeling that it left me with and the impression that I left upon the client, that's where the money is going to come from, not from their transaction. Right. The day that her loan funded, her sister texted me and said, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you just did this for my sister. I just wanted you to know I just referred you 2 more people that are looking. And so you have to remind yourself, this is relationship. This is relationship. It's relationship. The money will come, but take care of the people first, right?
Yeah. So how do you do that? Because not everybody has your natural ability to connect to people. I think that the way I've always thought of you is like you're just very authentic with who you are. Yeah. And brand new people. I remember sitting in the office and hearing you talk to some customers that were brand new, and you're telling them things about your personal life that I'm just like, whoa, what is she doing? Like, why is she telling us this stuff? And it's what I realize now that I'm, older, 40, is that you build relationships so well when you connect on a personal level. And that's something you always done really naturally. Yeah. So how do you do that?
You know what? And it wasn't natural, Michael. It honestly, my husband taught me because, he had done sales for a long time. And the one thing that he taught me, because I kept telling him, I can't do this. I can't sell. I can't sell. I can't sell. And he's like, you don't have to sell. All you have to do is find something that you relate with them. If you hear a dog barking in the background, ask them about their dog. You know, if you hear kids say, oh, I hear little ones in the background. Are those yours? You know, what's going on? And obviously we have to be careful of certain questions we ask. But when you've broken that barrier of being someone that they're apprehensive about telling their life story to because they're worried if you're judging them to qualify them, right? And I'm not saying judging them in their personal life, but if they said, well, I had a divorce and I paid child support, that's going to keep them from qualifying. You know, it's letting them know, look, I'm human too. I've had a bankruptcy, you know, medical bankruptcy, because we didn't anticipate my husband being on life support. You know, I love sharing that kind of stuff, because then as I'm digging in the ditches with them to say, let's get this off your credit, or let's figure out how we can increase your income. You know, if you need to go find a better job that's going to get you qualified for this home for your family, let's work on something like that. So it's being relatable. And so many people, when they take an, I see, you know, new loan officers that work for me, when they take an application, they're so like, what's your name? What's your social security number? What's right? And they're not relaxed, which isn't allowing the customer to relax.
Yeah.
And what was really interesting is when I was over in the Portland market, I was there for years. It was like, I always had to dress, you know, a certain way. And then moving over to Bend, I'm like, wow, I cannot wear the clothes there that are here that I wore there. Like, I can't be in a formal dress or pantsuit or whatever, because my clients do not relate to me. Figure out what you need to do to get them to relate to you so that they are comfortable sitting across the table from you, you know, and ask them about their life. You know, what sparked them to want to be a homeowner, or, you know, what are their needs for wanting to refinance or whatever it is. And I say, for me, I mean, my clients become my family. It's crazy. And not everybody has the personality for it. So if you don't, it's okay, but you've got to learn that skill set. You know, you can't just be an order taker.
Yeah. I mean, there's a place for that. It's just not on the sales side, right? It's not on maybe the loan officer side.
Well, and definitely not when you're not dealing with someone, when you're dealing with someone's largest expense. You know, if they're walking into a car dealership to buy a car, they expect the guy on the other desk to ask them financial questions, right? Because they're walking in, or if they walk into the bank. But when our industry has changed so much and everything is so by the phone, that you have about 2 minutes to figure out how to connect with them to get them to like you.
Yeah.
If I'm having an off day, I can tell, oh my gosh, it did not go well with this client because I had a bad attitude, you know, instead of getting to know them. So.
It's easy to blame the client too, but they're just looking for trust.
Yeah. They're looking for trust. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, so you didn't just stop with you. You passed the torch, right? Like you have children in the industry?
Yeah, I do. So our daughter Haley is kind of a junior processor, doing some LOA stuff and also admin stuff. Yeah. And then our son, I shouldn't say my son, but he's like my son. Our son and daughter are open, and Noah is a loan originator, licensed loan originator, and also an LOA. So my team as well. And that's been awesome. You know, I never realized how much they picked up from us over all those years. Although we look back on some videos when Haley was like 2 years old, dancing around on the porch, and she owned her own mortgage company at that time. She was telling us a story, and I'm like, apparently we did make a good impression. But what's super cool is not just for our kids to follow in our footsteps, but we have, you know, some of their friends who we thought would make outstanding originators that we said, come into the industry, and we're happy to hand on that business as, you know, we retire out, which won't be for a long time, but it's still giving them opportunity and also, you know, teaching them the ebbs and flows and how to manage that kind of stuff. But more importantly, I think for all of us in this industry, the quality of life that we can give our family and that we can have for our kids is immeasurable. I mean, you can take calls and be watching your kid's baseball game now if you need to. But for me, honestly, I feel so incredibly blessed to have had that with our kids, because I look at all the parents that had to drop their kids off at sports activities but couldn't stay because they had to return to work or whatever. And we got to sit there and watch every single practice and be there for them, and that to me was just, I get excited to bring people into the industry because I said, you have no idea the freedoms you're going to have as a family, for your kids or your spouse or your partner, whoever that person is, what you can give them in terms of quality, you can't have with so many other careers,
Yeah.
And so to me, it's super important, especially being in it this long. I'm like, okay.
And it's obviously made a big impact for them because they didn't move to some other state and run away from you. They're hanging out.
They're hanging out. Yeah. They're hanging out and showing up every day, and I don't cut them any slack. They're different than any of my other employees. I have the same expectations for them and want to see them succeed. But they also know, if this isn't your passion, don't feel like you have to do it, because mom and dad do, but they're both enjoying it. Our daughter, I think she eventually will move on to, her dream was to go through medical school and work in a medical spa. So, we've encouraged her, like, do that. But the really cool thing about it is, again, this is a job where she can go to school and still make really great money and have that flexibility to be able to do something that she's passionate about, but can earn income. So,
yeah.
Cool.
Well, so one other thing, they came in, they were pretty new. They had obviously heard you have thousands of conversations with people on the phone, and they pick up little things. One thing I noticed about you, though, is you really like to bring new people into the industry and train them from the ground up.
Yeah.
Is there a particular reason why you like that? Is it just a passion of yours, or?
Well, passion for sure. I love just giving people the opportunity that Patrick and I had, not knowing anything about the industry and then seeing what it did for us as parents, being able to be there present for our kids. That's huge. And so when I see younger people that I know are going to be starting families, if they don't have a aversion to being on commission, it's like, this is a great opportunity for you to be able to be a present parent, but also make a great income. But I think for me, the reason I love doing it is because a lot of the new originators come in with no apprehensions and no bad habits. And it motivates me when I see them not have this fear of going out there and saying, well, I'm going to make these appointments and go talk to people about, doing loans. Where some of the more seasoned originators, sometimes I find that they can get complacent, or we do start to have the, oh, woe is me. I'm not doing any business. My referral partners are, disappointing me, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I find that with the newer originators, when they come in the industry, they don't know, because they haven't been through some of this stuff. Now, bringing them in 2020, 2021 was like, it was like feeding them to the fire, right? I literally brought Noah in and I'm like, don't even ask me any questions. Go figure it out yourself. And I threw everything at him. I said, you're going to learn this business. You're going to learn it the way I did. Nobody tells you anything. And it worked really well for him. But what was hard is, coming into it his first year, making over $100,000 as, a fresh graduate out of college, to coming into 2022 going, oh my gosh, am I going to have a job?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is where you dig deep. You will have a job as long as you want to have a job. And so, yeah, the newer people in the industry, it's twofold. It's because I want to give them something that I know that I had that I enjoyed, but it's also because I need them to continue to motivate me, because when I don't see them putting up their walls or, apprehensions about going out there and getting business, it reminds me that I need to keep doing that too.
Yeah. How do you find them? Just through people you meet somebody, you do a loan. I hired people you did loans for even.
I've found them everywhere, Michael. I found them, we've hired pizza delivery kids. We've hired a guy that sold, he was manager for Foot Locker. He's been in the industry now 20 some odd years. But really, it's connecting. It's just people we run into that we're like, this person would be really good. They're outgoing, they communicate. And one of the things I tell them is, you've got to take the course and you have to pass the test. That's on you. So you take the course and let me see how committed you are. And if you can pass the test, then I will train you,
That's a big commitment, yeah.
And I think to be able to train them also to give the level of service that I give is really important, because I don't want to just train them that you can make really great money in this industry, because you can, but it's really about the people that they can support and the relationships that they're going to build, that's going to feed their family for 30, 40 years.
I mean, you can build generational wealth. I mean, because you learn the knowledge, not just how to do loans, but then you're also entrenched in real estate and like your knowledge of loan program types and what requirements are and like niche things. And like, then you all of a sudden you come across an investment property and you got, I mean, there's just like generational wealth opportunity in the industry if you really look at it that way.
Yeah. And it's super fun. And I think when you bring in, people that are like-minded as well, then you can take some of the pressure off yourself to have to do all the research and know everything, because they're going to be hungry to learn it, because they say, okay, I'm into ranches and farms. So I see that there's an avenue for financing them. So I'm going to learn about that. And maybe for me, I've gotten 1 or 2 or 3 referrals in my career. So I wouldn't even know how to do it. I love to do construction firm loans. Not everybody does. There's a lot of hand holding in them. And so, we've had people come in that were in the construction industry and they latch on right away. They're like, oh, this makes sense, and they love it because they already understand the other side of the transaction. So then it makes them more excited to get through that transaction. But, I've had some bad hires too. Trust me.
It happens.
I thought we're going to do really great. And I think that, for Patrick and I, our enthusiasm about the industry and, our excitement for them is probably what talked them into it. And then we realized quickly that they weren't willing to put the effort in. They saw us as this successful team. And so they thought, oh, we can do that. And then they get into it and don't realize there is a lot of work that goes into it. It isn't just about yapping your mouth. So.
Yeah. Nicole, it's been great to reconnect with you, and I appreciate your time today. And I'll let you get back to it. I'm sure you got a lot of things to do.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time too. Thank you, Michael. You have a fantastic afternoon.
You too. Take care.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.